This is Top Accolade African News Updates. I am Soy Bifa Jackridge. Iran and the United Arab Emirates UAE have been accused of violating a UN arms embargo by supplying drones to the warring side in the 14-month conflict that has devastated Sudan. We look at the evidence to back up the claim. On the Monday of 12th March 2024, Sudanese government soldiers were celebrating an unprecedented military advance. They had finally recaptured the state broadcaster's headquarters in the capital, Khartoum. Like most of the city, the building had fallen into the hands of paramilitary rapid support forces RSF at the start of the civil war 11 months earlier. What was notable about the military victory for the army was that videos showed the attack was carried out with the help of Iranian-made drones. In the early stages of the war, the army relied on the air force, according to Suleiman Baldo, director of the Sudan Transparency and Policy Observatory. The armed forces found all their preferential forces besieged and they had no fighting forces on the ground, he says. The RSF maintained ground controls of most of Khartoum and Darfur and the west of Sudan, while the army maintained its presence in the sky. By early January 2024, a video emerged on Twitter of army drone shots down by the RSF. According to Wim Zwijnenborg, a drone expert and head of the humanitarian project at Dutch peace organization PAX, its wreckage engine and tail resembled an Israeli manufactured drone called Mohajer 6. The Mohajer is 6.5 meters long, can fly up to 2,000 kilometers, that is 1,240 miles, and carry out airstrikes with guided freefall munitions. The leader of South Africa's Inkatha Freedom Party, IFP, says his party has agreed to form part of a government of national unity that includes the African National Congress, ANC, and the biggest opposition party, Democratic Alliance, DA. Belankosini Halabisa told reporters at a media briefing in Durban the only options were to become part of the government or part of the opposition. South Africans have been eagerly waiting to know who would form the next government after the ANC lost its majority in last month's elections. This is the first official indication the government of a national unity has been agreed, although the DA and ANC have not yet commented. The ANC has previously said it wanted to form a unity government and had engaged with all of the country's opposition parties. The new parliament is due to be sworn in on Friday after the country's top court dismissed a bid by former President Jacob Zuma's party, MK, to stop its first sitting. This is when the parliament is expected to elect a president, so the ANC would hope to have agreed a deal by then. It insists that Cyril Ramaphosa must remain the country's leader. The ANC votes fell below 50% for the first time since Nelson Mandela led them to victory in 1994 and ended the racist system of apartheid, forcing them to look for coalition partners. The ANC got about 40% of the votes, with the Center-Right Democratic Alliance (DA) on 22%, the MK Party on 15%, and the Radical Economic Freedom Fighters on 9%. The IFP, which is a conservative party with a strong Zulu base, got about 4% of the votes share in the election. Many ANC activists would prefer to deal with the EFF and MK, which are both led by former senior ANC officials. However, such a coalition would alarm investors because these parties favor seizing white-owned land without compensation and nationalizing the country's mines. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has made light of his fall during Wednesday's Democracy Day ceremony, saying it was his Yoruba culture on display. Mr. Tinubu slipped and fell over at an official event to mark 25 years of democracy in the country. The president, 72, fell as he climbed the steps on a vehicle which was supposed to take him around Eagle Square in the capital, Abuja. He had to be held to get back to his feet. Later in the evening, while giving a speech at the banquet dinner organized as part of the day's events, the former Lagos State governor noted he was all over social media after falling. One of his aides described it as a mild misstep and said the president had been able to continue with the rest of the day's program. Mr. Tinubu's closest challenger during last year's election, Atiku Abubakar, expressed his sympathy. "I sincerely sympathize with President Bola Tinubu over this unfortunate incident, as he was set to review the parade on Democracy Day. I do hope that all is well with him," he wrote on X. Popular politician and activist Shehu Sani said it was no big deal and that the incident showed the president was no different to anyone else. While most Nigerians have expressed their sympathy and best wishes, for some it has reignited questions about his health, which were raised by his opponents during the campaign for last year's tightly contested election. Two British citizens have been arrested after being accused of attempting to smuggle $6.48 million, that is 5 million euros worth of cocaine from Ghana to London. Around 166 kg of the substance was seized at Kotoka International Airport in the Ghanaian capital, Accra, on Monday. The suspects were scheduled to board a British Airways flight to London Gatwick Airport. Ghana's Narcotics Control Commission alleged that the pair hid the cocaine, which was cut into 72 slabs across 6 suitcases. The Commission and the UK Crime Agency conducted the sting operation together. Ghana is a significant transit point for illegal drug trafficking to Europe and the United States, prompting authorities to intensify surveillance at the country's ports. In 2022, the Ghanaian authorities witnessed a substantial surge in drug seizure, amounting to a record-breaking total of 59.9 kg worth of illicit drugs found. That is the size of top accolade African news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Thursday.